In 1692, an entire community lost its grip on reality. People accused their neighbours, their friends, even their own families, and believed every word. This wasn't about witches, it was about psychology. Salem was a town under pressure, isolated, anxious, and convinced that the world beyond its borders was dangerous. When a few strange behaviours appeared in a small group of young people, fear didn't just spread, it ignited. We're not looking for the supernatural, we're examining something far more disturbing: how ordinary people can lose themselves to collective fear. Salem in 1692 wasn't a peaceful place. It was small, isolated, and constantly under pressure. Harsh winters, failing crops, outbreaks of illness, each year brought something new to fear. And beneath all of that was a strict religious culture that saw the world as a battlefield between the divine and the demonic. People lived with the constant belief that danger, spiritual or otherwise, was always close. Every misfortune had a meaning. Every shadow felt significant. So when something strange happened, the explanation didn't start with science or reason. It started with suspicion. Salem was a town primed for panic. All it needed was a spark. The spark didn't look like the beginning of a crisis. It began quietly, with a small group of young people showing strange, unexplained behaviour. Movements that seemed sudden, voices that didn't make sense, reactions that frightened the adults watching them. In most places, this might have been dismissed as illness, stress, or imagination. But in Salem, where the line between the natural and the supernatural felt razor thin, every odd moment carried weight. The community searched for answers, and found none. And when fear rises with no explanation, the human mind reaches for the stories it already knows. Salem knew only one: the presence of something dark. A single moment of confusion became the first crack in the town's sense of reality, and that crack spread fast. Fear has a way of moving from person to person long before anyone notices it happening. Psychologists call it mass psychogenic illness, a chain reaction where distress, confusion, and emotion spread socially, not physically. When one person reacts with fear, the people around them mirror it. When uncertainty rises, the mind fills the blanks with whatever explanation feels familiar, even if it isn't grounded in reality. In Salem, that process accelerated. The community was small, tightly connected, and already anxious. Every whisper travelled fast. Every rumour felt credible. Every frightened reaction made the next one stronger. And once the local authorities began paying attention, the panic didn't just spread, it gained legitimacy. Fear backed by authority is contagious on a different level. In a matter of weeks, the town wasn't just worried, it was convinced. Salem had entered a psychological feedback loop, where fear created fear, and belief created more belief, until the line between imagination and reality all but disappeared. Once fear takes hold, it doesn't stay still. It looks for direction, for targets. In Salem, accusations didn't begin as acts of malice. Many came from fear, confusion, or the desperate hope that naming someone else might restore a sense of control. But fear doesn't calm down when it's fed, it grows. Each new accusation made the previous one seem more credible. Each confession, genuine or forced, reinforced the town's belief that something real was happening. Neighbours watched neighbours fall under suspicion. Old tensions resurfaced. Community ties that once held the town together now made it easier for panic to jump from person to person. And as more people were accused, the fear of being next became overwhelming. In that environment, accusation became a kind of survival strategy, a way to divert danger by naming someone else. What began as uncertainty had evolved into a self-sustaining cycle. Fear creates accusation, and accusation intensifies fear. When the court stepped in, the panic didn't slow down, it accelerated. Instead of calming the town, the authorities amplified the hysteria by treating fear as evidence. The usual standards of proof dissolved. Testimony based on dreams, visions, and imagined encounters became acceptable. This shift had a devastating psychological effect. When an institution validates an irrational belief, it stops feeling irrational. It feels official. Confessions obtained under pressure were taken as confirmation. Doubts were treated as disloyalty. Logic, skepticism, and restraint, the tools normally used to keep a community grounded, were replaced with certainty built on fear. And once the legal system embraced that narrative, the entire town followed. People trusted the court more than they trusted their own senses. If authority said something was real, then it must be real. Salem wasn't just experiencing mass hysteria from the bottom up, it was now being driven from the top down. A perfect storm where fear moved freely between the people and the institutions meant to protect them. All hysteria has a breaking point. In Salem, it came slowly. Not with a single event, but with a series of quiet doubts. People began noticing inconsistencies, contradictions, and stories that no longer made sense. The fear that once united the community now started to fracture it. Even some of the officials who had driven the panic began to question their own decisions. When authority hesitates, belief collapses fast. The trials ended abruptly. The certainty that had gripped the town dissolved almost overnight, leaving behind confusion, silence, and a sense that something irreversible had happened. When the hysteria faded, Salem was left with no victories, no clarity, only regret and the uncomfortable truth that the real damage had come not from any supernatural threat, but from the fear they created themselves. Salem wasn't a supernatural event. It was a psychological one. What happened there has echoed throughout history, in towns, in schools, in families, in entire nations. Whenever stress rises, uncertainty grows, and authority embraces fear, the human mind becomes vulnerable to stories that feel true, even when they aren't. Mass hysteria isn't a relic of the past. It's a reminder of how fragile our sense of reality can be, and how quickly a community can lose itself when emotion overrides evidence. Salem endures because it shows us something uncomfortable, that reason is not guaranteed, and that under the right conditions, ordinary people can create extraordinary darkness. In the end, Salem wasn't about witches at all. It was about us, and what fear can turn us into. If this glimpse into the shadows intrigued you, step into something brighter. Our sister channel, Dark Beacon Prime, waits on the other side, a place where curiosity turns toward the light.